How's it going, YouTube? I'm going to be showing you an empty jar deck today, empty jar deck list today. I have been playing this deck since maybe about maybe April or May. I did start using this deck after I came back from taking a break from Yu-Gi-Oh because I did get bored with it. So I was talking to Yu-Gi-Oh Dueling Corner. I'm like, I need a deck to play, and then he's like, why don't you play empty jar? It's cheap. I'm like, and it's pretty fun. So I'm like, okay, sure. So he gave me a deck, and then I was playing with it. I was tweaking it too as I went along, and since the format's about to be over and I think I'm pretty much done with the deck, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you my deck. So first we have one Morphing Jar. Of course, this is the MVP of the deck. You use him to deck the opponent out and just do a lot of combos with this. This is your main card that you use. Next we have Needleworm. So if Morphing Jar doesn't work for you, then you can use Needleworm. Usually I use it as a finish and I only use one because you don't really need any extra Needleworms. So one is good enough for me. And I never had to use more than, or I never had trouble decking an opponent out if I had the chance to. One Night Assailant. So he's a popper and he gets a flip effect monster from a graveyard if he's discarded from the hand. So you can use like hand destruction or some kind of discard effect, and you can get one of these back, Needleworm or Morphing Jar if you need. Next we have 3 AD changers. So this changes the position of a monster on the field. So this includes like your Morphing Jar. It can be face down or it can be face up, it can be whatever. So it just changes the position. And if you change the position of a face down Morphing Jar, then it will activate the flip effect when it turns into attack position. And it will also not count as a flip summon, so you can't use stuff like Solemn Warning or like Torrential, Bottomless, whatever. So it does protect you from that stuff. We have 3 Swift Scarecrows. So this is pretty much the stall of the deck. You can't really negate the effect unless you have like Dulkas or like something like that. So if you're playing like Rabbits or anything like that, you do have a lot of trouble using these. But other than that, you need like Debunks, which not a lot of people at my locals run. You also have like Photon Strike Bouncer. This doesn't work on this because it only affects cards on the field. So, and this goes directly to the graveyard. So it gets over Bouncer, and it's a pretty good stall card. Then I run Triple Tour Guides. So the Triple Tour Guides is actually going to kind of speed up the deck, thin it out. You summon Tour Guide, then you probably go into a Sangan, and you probably just sit on that for a little bit until they kill it, and then that allows you to search for a Morphing Jar or whatever you need. And that's it for the monsters. This deck isn't really monster deck heavy. It's probably only like 9 monsters or like 10. So with the magic cards, we have 3 Upstart Goblins. Life points don't matter, so this is a great card. Just draw 1 card, they gain 1,000 life points, but no, it doesn't help them at all. Now we have 3 Pot of Dualities. This kind of conflicts with some of the other cards in the deck, but I think this is really too good not to run. You can only use once per turn, but it helps you draw faster. We have Card Destruction. Also, like Needleworm is like the finisher of the deck. So you can have them discard maybe 7 cards if you activate like a lot of 1-day pieces, and just have them discard their whole hand while you discard like 2. Then we have 1 Hand Destruction. I don't really like Hand Destruction that much, but I do find that it's useful if you draw too many into ADs or Night Assailants, or anything extra that you don't need. You can just do Hand Destruction, and then you discard the cards you don't need and draw 2. But that's usually later in the game, and if you have the hand to actually discard for it. Then we have 3 Gold Sarcophagus. So this helps you search for whatever you need again. It does take 2 turns to come on the field or into your hand. But usually you can use it with Morphing Jar, and that would be very helpful, or maybe Needleworm. Then we have 3 1-days apiece. This card is absolutely ridiculous. This card is so good, you have to run this. It is a -1 for you because you use 1 day apiece, so you lose 1 card, you draw 1 card, and then your opponent also draws 1 card, so he has 1 more card than you, but you take no battle damage until your next turn, or until your opponent's end phase, so it's really, really amazing. Next we have 2 Magical Stones. These things bring back your Books of Eclipses because you only have so many, and you do need to reuse them. Also in some situations you might be like, oh, I'm out of star cards, and then you can use this to bring like 1 day apiece back or something. Then we have 1 Book of Moon to flip face down. 3 Book of Eclipses, also similar to Book of Moon, but it's a field, so it affects all monsters on the field. And your opponent also draws 1 card for each monster on their side of the field. That's face down at the end of the turn, so it flips up, and then they draw 1 for each. Then we have Book of Taiyu, which is 3 Book of Taiyus, which is also like your AD changers. So they do change the position of 1 face down monsters, not any monsters, so it just has to be face down. And that will allow you to activate your Morphing's effect or maybe your Needleworm's effect. And again, it's not considered a summon, it's considered a change of position, so no Solemn Warning, no Torrential, no Bottomless. Well, not that you can use Bottomless, but you know, stuff like that. Next, we run 1 Foolish Burial. This usually use it to discard an AD changer, but also if you can also combo it with Shallow Grave to bring back a Morphing Jar, so you Foolish Morphing Jar, then play Shallow Grave. Assuming that they have a monster you can they can bring back, you just play Shallow Grave, and then you get your Morphing Jar back, and that's like pretty quick search. So the last 3 cards is the Shallow Grave. So again, you bring back a monster, and they also bring back a monster, and it does help a lot. So really good card. I run 3. And that's it for the main deck. It's only 40 cards, as it should be if you're running any more. I think that's a really bad idea, but it's up to you. But running 40 helps you draw faster into the Morphing Jar. So for the extra deck, we have 1 Leviair the Sea Dragon. So this combos really well with Gold Sarcophagus and Tour Guides. If you have a good hand, you can probably Gold Sarcophagus, Tour Guide, and then detach to summon Tour Guide. Detach or Gold Sarcophagus, Morphing Jar, then summon Leviair, and then detach this special summon Morphing Jar. And if you have a Book of Eclipse or something, that really helps because they attack into it, and then or Book of Moon is actually the best one. But if they attack you, you just Book of Moon, and then they'll activate the effect when that goes through. And then we have 2 Leviathan Dragons. I haven't really used these much, but you can use these to get over stuff that may cause you trouble. You detach and you just get 2,500 attack points. So if you get it out before like they get maybe Logia or Dulka, they'll have a hard time getting through and attacking you. And then we have 1 Wind Up Zenmaines. This is a really good card. I think it's really needed. It helps you stall out, and it also gives you a little bit of field control, which you actually lose when you play Empty Jar because you don't do anything to them. They keep all their cards, and you have to spend resources just keeping yourself alive. So Zenmaines is actually a really good card to help you survive. Number 34, Terabyte. Haven't used this much either, but it requires 3 level 3 monsters. So the reason I put it in because you do run level 3s with Tour Guides and stuff like that. So it does help, and it's a 29 defense. So not many things can get over it. So if you're playing like Chaos Dragons and you can manage to get this out, then it'll help you stall. And there's not really much they can do except for maybe like Chaos Sorcerer or BLS. But they would have to draw into that. So I might give you a few turns. Then we have number 30, Acid Golem. So this is a 3,000 attack, 3,000 defense. And again, it helps you block or it helps you get over stuff. Like maybe this would be better for like Dulka or Logia. So you just swing into it and then get rid of their Dulka, and they can't negate your effects anymore. But the only drawback about this is you can't special summon. And then for side deck, we have 2 Lava Golems. So again, this is for rabbits. Most of my deck is against rabbits because that is the worst matchup for me. So they'll usually go like Dulka, and then if they use up all their detach, they'll summon another Dulka. And then you'll go Lava Golem, or they'll kind of overextend, and then you can do Lava Golem if they have 2 or more monsters on the field. Also run 2 Volcanic Queens. So usually smart players will know if you run Lava Golems, they'll be like, well, he has a Lava Golem, so I'm not going to summon. Well, they'll maybe sit on a Dulka for a while, so I sign in Volcanic Queens just for that person that just sits on one monster for a while, and then they don't expect it, so you're like Volcanic Queen, and then gets rid of their monsters. I never had to side both of these in, but if you kind of get a feel for how your opponent plays, you can either go Volcanic Queens or Lava Golem, or you can do both. And then we have one Fool. So I put in the Fool as a stall card. This is usually for rabbits. Since it's not a trigger effect, they can't really negate it, and there's not much they can do to get over it because I won't be attacking with it. We have one Absorbing Jar. So this is like the Cyber Jar of back rows. So it destroys all back rows, and they draw a card for each. This is for people running back row heavy decks, stuff like skill drains and stuff like that. Even though skill drain doesn't affect it, Absorption Jar helps you get rid of it because it does cause you to use a lot more resources. And it also kind of clears the field so you don't have to worry about anything. I run 2 Soul Takers, and if you don't have Soul Takers, I used to run Chalices. So again, this is for rabbits or anything that negates effects, monsters that give you trouble. You just use Soul Taker. They get 1,000 life points like Upstart, but again, you know, they lose a monster, so or if they have Logia, they lose the Detach and no negation, so it's pretty good. I run 2 creature swaps. So the main enemy of the deck is Gemini Imps and Dark Worlds. So creature swap is for creature swapping that Morphing Jar, so they can't use Gemini Imps or Dark Worlds. It also has some pluses. They can't use Velar because it only works on opponents. And there's just a lot of stuff you can do with it. 2-dimensional Fissures. Again, this is for Dark Worlds. You don't want that Grapha coming out and popping your stuff. So we have a Heavy Storm, again for back rows and stuff like that. Dark Hole for decks that swarm and just give you a lot of trouble. And then we have Burial from a Different Dimension, so against macros. DD Crows, that's what you side in because they'll DD Crow your Morphing Jar and you'll just have this ready and to get it back. Alright, so that's it for the deck profile, and I hope you enjoyed.